Alright guys, let's look at some examples of doing calculations with numbers that are measured, and then talking about how to round our answers to an appropriate number of significant figures. So the first example that I have here, I have two masses and I'm adding them together. One of them is 334.54 grams, and I'm adding that to 198 grams. So I'm going to type this into my calculator, and the answer that my calculator gives me is going to be 532.51 grams. However, remember that whenever we're adding or subtracting, we are going to round our answer to the same number of decimal places as the measured value with the least number of decimal places. So I'm going to look at my problem, and I see that my first measured value has 2 decimal places. The second value, on the other hand, has none. There are no digits after the decimal. So I'm going to round my answer to 0 decimal places. So I'm going to keep the hundreds, tens, and ones place, and I'm going to round the ones place using this first decimal, because I'm going to round my answer to 0 decimal places. This is a 5, which means I'm going to round the preceding number up. So I'm going to round this to 533 grams. The second example that I'm going to show you uses division. So this time we have 34.1 grams divided by 1.1 milliliters. So I type this into my calculator, and it tells me that the answer is 31, and then the unit, of course, would be grams per milliliter. Unlike in the first problem where I was doing addition, this time I'm doing division. So remember that whenever we're multiplying or dividing, we round our answer to the same number of significant figures as the measured value with the least number of significant figures. So this has 1, 2, 3 significant figures, and this measured value has 1, 2 significant figures. Therefore, I'm going to round my answer to 2 significant figures, 1, 2. Since the number already is limited to 2 significant figures, I don't have to do anything. That is my answer. A third example. This time I have 3 measured values, all lengths, and I'm going to add them together. 349 centimeters plus 1.10 centimeters plus 100 centimeters. Type this into my calculator, and my calculator tells me the answer is 450.1 centimeters. Remember, we're adding, and whenever we're adding or subtracting, we round our answer to the number of decimal places that is the same as the number with the least decimal places. This value has 0 decimal places, this has 2, and this also has 0 decimal places. So I'm going to round all of the decimal places out of this number. This 1 is the digit I'll use for rounding. Since it's less than 4, it rounds down, and I'm left with 450 centimeters. And then one more example problem for you guys. I have this is a decimal, 2.11 times 10 to the third joules divided by 34 seconds. So when I type this into my calculator, it tells me the answer is 62.05882.353 joules per second. Now that is a whole lot of digits, right? We definitely need to round for significant figures. So I'm going to again round to the same number of significant figures as the measured value with the least number of significant figures, because I'm dividing. And that's what we do whenever we multiply or divide. So I go back to my measured values. I've got 1, 2, 3 significant figures here. Remember that in scientific notation, all of the digits in the coefficient are significant, and that's just this right here. Leave this part out. So I have 3 significant figures. In the time here, I've got 1, 2 significant figures. 2 is less than 3, so I'm going to round my answer to 2 significant figures. So that'll be 1, 2. I'll use this next digit for rounding, which tells me to round down. So 62 joules per second. And that's 4 example problems of doing calculations with measured values and rounding for significant figures.